people should be discriminated against on that regard. But as whether I would support the ordinance or not, I'm not going to commit until I actually see the ordinance, and nobody has produced one.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to add anything at this point, Mr. Coppinger? Okay. Let me see. I'll go ahead and talk about the relationship with the county a little bit, since that it's kind of a love-hate relationship, as it were. Anyway, they're areas of clashing jurisdiction. So the legislature last winter, in 2018, passed a law to limit the city's jurisdiction mostly for creating and approving development projects over the area that's within 5 minutes of the city limits, which that's usually traditionally been. The city can have some control over that, unless the county agrees to it or has a comprehensive plan. And under certain circumstances, the county also must get city approval for certain development. But what do you think of these changes? What is the relationship you think that is good between the city and county in this area outside city limits, but that affects services and other things in it? And we'll start with Dr. Rennie.
Well, first of all, I think at least the council's relationship with the county commissioners is really pretty good. And I've noticed through the years that that's a lot based on personalities. Mm-hmm. And there have been times in the past where it's been very antagonistic. But the current mix of the commission is we actually get along, I think, well. As far as the legislation that was adopted last year, I think it was a disservice to the municipalities. The best example of that is, again, Cheyenne is going to expand. I know one of the candidates said we need to expand inward. Well, if you look, there's a lot of infill going on around town. There aren't too many vacant areas where we can expand inward. We continue to grow. You look at how Saddle Ridge is developing, Thomas Heights. Now Sweetgrass is coming into play, and Whitney Ranch, and we are growing by leaps and bounds. When we grow, if there is a development that's done outside the city limits, it should be done to our standards. If it's adjacent to the city, at some point they are probably going to be annexed. It doesn't make sense to create county pockets. So if we are growing, we are probably going to annex them, and as a result, their streets, their water, their lighting, all their infrastructure should be according to the city standards. With the passage of that legislation, we no longer have the ability to ensure that.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Coppinger, do you want me to repeat the question?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am. I think it should be a natural communication between the county and the city. I mean, they're one and the same, essentially. Like Dr. Rennie said, we are going to grow. But it should be an amicable, and a respectful relationship between the city and the county, and how things happen. If we're going to build once, don't build twice. The infrastructure should be a certain standard, as Dr. Rennie said, so that when we do move in, or when it does become annexed, those things are already in place. But again, you can't tell people they have to work together, because it never works out. Then it just becomes an ego war. But if you can have one that is amicable and respectful between the two of them, and you can communicate, then you can get a lot more done. And it works out longer and better for everybody.
Okay, thank you. And so...
May I respond?
Yes. Oh, sure. Absolutely.
I just, obviously, if that would be the ideal. But if the county doesn't have standards, or doesn't have standards that match ours, and you have a developer that wants to cut costs or doesn't want to put the monies in to do it according to the city standards, then it probably is not going to get done. And as I said, as a result, I think the legislature did a great disservice to the municipalities in the state.
Okay. Did you want to add anything for this point? So one thing I want to add, and I guess we have time for maybe just one or two brief questions at this point. At 8 o'clock, I'd like to get into your closings. But so on the city council, three distinct wards, three distinct geographic areas. Is there any topic speaking to Ward 2 residents, is there any topic or area of concern for Ward 2 that might put you in conflict with the other wards? Is there any topic that you really have to take the lead on? How do you approach that? And I guess we will start with Mr. Coppinger. Is there any unique aspect for Ward 2 that really needs you to stand up and maybe sometimes oppose the other two wards?
I think everybody's pretty generally come up with the same things as how their issues are, what their issues are, the streets, the infrastructure, the health, the police department, the fire department. Those are all the biggest things that I hear about. And I can't see how you can take another ward and say, well, you don't deserve any more than somebody else does. It should be something, again, it has to be amicable across the board. I have not heard anything yet.
Okay. Dr. Rennie?
I don't think that's been an issue. For the most part, with all the council members I've served with, they've looked at the city as a whole and what benefits the entire city, and rarely does it get down to, no, my ward needs this. I can think of a couple council members through the years that have done that or have kept track of, Ward 2 gets this, Ward 3 gets this, so my ward should have this. That just generally doesn't happen. Those of us that are elected realize that we're here to make the city of Cheyenne better, and we kind of look at it more as a whole rather than the parts.
Okay, did you want to add anything at that point? Okay. Well, and one thing that you kind of touched on, we have time to slip in one more here, about quality of life, amenities, and that sort of thing, and you sort of both addressed it a little bit in your introductory. How important are those amenities? I mean, we talk about being fiscally conservative, so the relative importance of those quality of life amenities, perhaps the West Edge and those sort of things, how important is that? And I guess we'll start with Dr. Rennie.
I think quality of life is extremely important. I think that and having something to do, I was like the original sponsor of the funding for the original Greenway segment. Having greenways, having nice parks, having places to go, having good restaurants, a choice in stores and retail. All those things are important when it comes to somebody's decision as to whether they're going to move here or not. And that's why downtown is so significant. As I said, we're judged by our downtown. When Leeds does a great job of getting businesses to come look at Cheyenne, but then the question is, and they come because, we do have two interstates. We do have a low corporate tax structure. We have no income tax. And they'll come and look at us. But they don't always come here, and one of the reasons is it's not a very attractive place. Our downtown is not as vibrant as some of those south of here. We don't have all the recreational opportunities that some of the other communities in the state has, and as a result, oftentimes I've seen where companies have looked at Cheyenne, were tempted by Cheyenne, but elected to go somewhere else. Generally Fort Collins, Greeley, Loveland, they're willing to pay the higher corporate income taxes. They're willing to put up with the state income tax because those places are viewed as a much more attractive place to live. And we have to realize that's who we compete with when we're looking to attract businesses here. We have to at least somewhat match their amenities.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Coppinger.
Amenities are extremely important. It's what keeps people here. It's what draws people here. And I'm not against amenities in any way, shape, or form. I just don't believe that we need to take the taxpayers' dollars to use them for private industry. But we do need to use the tax dollars to make, again, the vibrant downtown. That's private. Those are businesses. How do you choose to fund this business over another business? Amenities are extremely important. That's what's going to keep people here, or it will draw people here. We do have those to the south. We have, I'm at a loss for words, but growth is important. So the amenities are just right there with it.
Okay, thank you. Do you want to add anything, Zoe?
No.
Okay. Well, let's go into our closing now. A minute and a half to close, and we will start with Mr. Coppinger and start. And you can use this to add something, or to comment, or simply to sum up.
I've been a member of Cheyenne for, like I say, 30 plus years. I've watched the city grow in directions I never thought it would grow. I'd like to see it continue to grow. But I'd like to see it based on what the people want here in Cheyenne. And some people want it to stay right where it's at. It can't. It's not going to happen that way. We're a logistic mecca. We have the ability of bringing in companies in the trucking industry, in the airline industry, and we have the ability to draw those companies here. That's where our revitalization is drawing those people here, because they cover both the technical, they cover the mechanical, they cover all different areas of the labor forces, and we have all of that here. That's what we need, more people to pay more taxes so that we have those dollars available to us to make our infrastructure, our health, and our safety that much stronger, and that will draw people here as well.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Rennie.
Well, I guess to kind of add on to what I said a moment ago, I think all along, the time I've been on council, the times I've lived in Cheyenne, people have talked about we would like to have more and better jobs. We would like to have more things to do and better opportunities. We'd like to have jobs where our children will stay here. Currently, we have a lot of high-level jobs. We have a lot of entry-level jobs. We don't have a lot in the middle. We don't have a lot of mid-level managers and businesses like that. I will maintain always that if we are going to attract those businesses, we need to make Cheyenne a more attractive place to live. We need to have increased amenities. We need to have a more vital, more attractive downtown. And in order to do that, there are just too many times through the years where we've sat back and waited for someone to do it, and nobody's come forward to do it. And I think we're to the point, when I talk to people, I think there is some support for the city getting involved, doing something, whatever it takes, to get things off the dime and moving forward. And so again, I think the public has a definite choice between what Rich would like to see and what I would like to see. I would like to see us be more involved and more aggressive, to not go after every project, but if we can look at things prudently and wisely and pick those projects that have a high chance of success, I think the city should be involved in it. Take your choice. And I would hope that you would want to see a progressive, growing, vital community. And I think I'm the one to help get us there, so I would appreciate your vote.
Okay, and I want to thank the candidates, everyone who was here in the audience, everyone who will watch this later on, and the city for providing this facility, and Spectrum for their recording these events and posting them for us. So can we all give them a big round of applause, please? Thank you.